Welcome into Scoop and Score. I'm your host, Tanner Croft, and today I'm going to be breaking down what I think is probably going to be the game of the year, certainly the game of the year up until this point. Number 3 Alabama at number 6 Tennessee, Saturday, October the 15th at 3:30 on CBS, and it's going to be CBS's game of the week. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and break this game down, starting with the Alabama offense versus the Tennessee defense. Side note, Bryce Young is expected to play in this game, even if he's not at 100%. That's going to be absolutely huge for Bama. And the reason it's going to be huge for Bama is Bama certainly cannot afford to turn the ball over in this game. It's going to be the most hostile environment they play in probably all season. It's probably going to be the loudest Neyland Stadium's been in the past 2 decades. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into the numbers. Alabama has the number 7 total offense in the country, putting up 505.7 yards per game, and they're taking on the number 87 total defense in Tennessee, who allows 396.6 yards per game. Alabama is number 3 in the country in scoring offense, putting up 44.3 points per game, and they're taking on the number 22 scoring defense in Tennessee, allowing 17.8 points per game. I think Tennessee's total defense stat is somewhat deceiving. If you watch their film, they play a bend but don't break style of defense. They're more than content to let Alabama, or any team for that matter, kick field goals because they think they can outscore you, and they tend to be right. Alabama has the number 3 rushing offense in the nation, putting up 257.2 rushing yards per game. Tennessee has the number 11 rushing defense in the nation, giving up only 89.2 rushing yards per game. Alabama is the number 68 team in the nation throwing the ball, putting up 246.5 passing yards per game. And they're going to take on one of the worst secondaries in the nation. Tennessee ranks number 128 in pass defense, allowing 307.4 passing yards per game. And in my opinion, this is going to be the key to the game. This matchup, Alabama's passing offense against Tennessee's secondary, is going to be the key to the game. If you can point to a weakness for Alabama so far, it's been their passing offense, specifically the receivers. And at times, their offensive line has looked a little bit shaky, specifically in the Texas game when they played a pretty good defensive line. And Alabama has to be able to exploit Tennessee's weakness, being their secondary, to win this game. I think if Alabama can't exploit Tennessee's secondary, they're going to be in jeopardy of just simply getting outscored in a shootout. Alabama is number 53 in the country in red zone efficiency at 85.7%. And Tennessee is number 7 in the nation in red zone defense, only allowing 65% efficiency for their opponents. To break down Tennessee's offense against Alabama's defense, shouldn't need too much of a breakdown. Tennessee is one of the best offenses in the nation. They are the number 1 total offense in the nation at 547.8 yards per game. They're taking on the number 7 total defense in the nation, Alabama only allowing 250.8 yards per game. Tennessee has the number 2 scoring offense in the nation at 46.8 points per game, and they're taking on Alabama's number 6 scoring defense, only allowing 12.5 points per game. Tennessee is the number 23 rushing team in the nation, 207.4 yards per game, taking on the number 3 rushing defense in the nation. Alabama's only allowing 84.5 rushing yards per game. Tennessee is the number 7 team in the nation throwing the ball, 340.4 passing yards per game, taking on Alabama's number 12 passing defense, only allowing 166.3 passing yards per game. And to get into that stat just a little bit, I do think Alabama's pass defense is elite, but it's one of those, I don't think they're elite on the outside. I don't think their secondary is elite. It comes from their pass rush. So I could see Tennessee hitting a bunch of underneath concepts in this game and having a bunch of yards after the catch. I could see that being how they move the ball through the air at least. And Alabama is number 38 in the nation in red zone defense. Tennessee has a 100% red zone efficiency, so obviously that's going to be tied for number 1 if you've been perfect in the red zone. Let's go ahead and jump into predictions for this game. Vegas has this game with Alabama as a 7-point favorite. Over/under is at 66. Alabama has beaten Tennessee 15 times in a row in this game. So let's go ahead and break down how does Tennessee pull this upset. And believe it or not, there's actually a pretty proven 2-step formula to beating Alabama, dating back to Ohio State's win in 2015. Every team that's beaten Alabama since that win has achieved 2 things. Step 1, you got to get 8 yards per attempt. in step 2, you have to turn Alabama over. I think every team that has beaten Alabama since 2015 has gotten 8 yards per attempt, and I think every single team except for one has won the turnover battle against Alabama. I think step 1 is going to be there for Tennessee, and Tennessee might be one of the only teams out there that might not need step 2 in order to beat Alabama. So I think Tennessee does have a very, very real chance to pull this upset if their defense can hold, and that's the big if. So let's go ahead and jump into what the model thinks in this game. And I didn't do the best job explaining on how the model works or what it even is in my last video, so I want to give a little second to break down that, talk about how the model works and how I come up with a score. So the model is a matchup based model, so it takes any given team and compares them to whatever team they're playing. It's not a true power rating system where one team is favored over all the other teams by varying amounts. It will vary based on the matchup. So just for an example, if Alabama was to play a bad team with a bad defense, it's going to think the spread is going to be bigger than if Alabama was to play a bad team that plays decent defense. It's going to think the spread is going to be smaller because the team that plays a decent defense is going to try to slow the game down, and therefore it's going to be a lower scoring game, if you follow what I'm saying. The two metrics that I look at the most are going to be yards per play, so how explosive an offensive it is, and yards per point, which is essentially offensive efficiency. And then the way it projects yardage and score is it takes those two metrics. It takes a ton of metrics into consideration, but those are the two primary metrics. And it compares those to the defense's percentage of those statistics allowed, if you can follow me. So it compares your offense to the defense that you're playing against, and it basically compares the efficiencies of both. And by doing that, it's going to project a score, and it's going to project total yardage for both teams. And just as a disclaimer, the model is 61 and 49 against the spread this far through 2 weeks. I didn't start projecting scores until week 5 because there's not enough data until week 5. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the model. Another disclaimer real quick is the model doesn't know what to do with injuries really. So it assumes Bryce Young is going to be playing at 100%, and I don't think he will be. So take that with a grain of salt. Anyway, the model is projecting Alabama at 4.2 yards per carry, 11 yards per attempt, and 7.5 yards per play. It's got them at scoring 42 points. It's got Tennessee at 2.2 yards per carry, 9.4 yards per attempt, and 5 yards per play, scoring 31. So it's got the final score, Alabama 42, Tennessee 31. Just to give you my prediction along with the model's prediction, I think Tennessee actually matches up pretty well with Alabama. I don't think Bryce Young's going to be quite 100%, and if Alabama can't exploit Tennessee's weakness being their secondary, I think Alabama's in for a long ride in this one. I think they're in some trouble. That's if they can't exploit the secondary, which I kind of think they will be able to. I will say I just have a gut feeling that Tennessee can pull this upset. I think this might be Tennessee's year, but I can't in good conscience pick Tennessee to win this game against a team that's beaten them 15 times in a row. So with all that said, give me Alabama 35, Tennessee 31. And just as another side note, I'd just like to give my personal thoughts on the games for entertainment value and for whatever they're worth. I don't personally gamble, but if you're looking for advice on picks, I would say lean towards picking with the model because it tends to be a lot better than I am at picking games. That's why I built it in the first place. So anyway, I hope you guys like this preview and prediction. If you did, I would appreciate it if you like, comment, and subscribe. Even if you didn't, I would still appreciate comments because the whole point of this channel is I would like to build discussion on these games. So with that out of the way, like, comment, subscribe. Watch out I'm going to be putting out a Penn State and Michigan preview tonight, so watch out for that within the next couple hours. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you later. Peace.